Hari Om. Since we are nearing the Adhyaya as the norm of any divine scripture, hints are coming as to what is going to come in the next Adhyaya. We are going to move from Karma Yoga towards Atma Sanyamana or Dhyana Yoga, which is a sequential unfolding of consciousness. What is said in the next Adhyaya is enumerated in these three shlokas here. The ending three shloka are the gist of what is going to come in the next Adhyaya. Also, this is one of the most terse representation, compact representation of what Hinduism stands for. And it is here we realize that Hinduism is not a religion the way people think and look towards the religion. If there is a definite way and purpose for sadhana and existence of life, then it is this. There can be many ways to reach the truth. But reaching the truth is the only ultimate thing that everyone has to achieve. So those who tries to differentiate between the religions and trying to find the superiority of a religion versus another, as Swami Vivekananda rightly put it in America, in this Parliament of Religions, not in the first lecture, but in the third and the fourth lecture, that Hinduism takes you to a land which is far beyond the narrow definition of religion that we have in our mind. And it is a land where all the religious divisions disappear because you're marching on the path of truth. And the same is enumerated in these shlokas if we look at it carefully. Gurudev himself, at the end of the commentary of this 26th shloka, he says that the Shankara, the great Vedantin, has given the explanation about how Vedanta promises godhood and perfection. The word used in Shankaracharya's Bhashyam on this particular shloka in his Gita Bhashya, Sattva Shuddhi Jnana Prapti Sarva Karma Sannyasa Kramena Mokshaya Iti Bhagavan Pade Pade Abravit Vakshati. Meaning, Yogeshwara Krishna Bhagavan Pade Pade Abravit, every step in the Bhagavad Gita and other places is trying to tell us the sequence, Kramena, of achieving the Bhagavad Pada. What is the sequence? Sattva Shuddhi, then Jnana Prapti, then Sarva Karma Sannyasa, then Moksha. Gurudev has given the same thing, purification of the mind, then knowledge, then renunciation of all actions, and lastly moksha. The same is said in the shloka as Kama Krodha Viyuktanam Yatinam Yatachetasam. Three adjectives are used for the one who is on the track. Kama Krodha Viyuktanam. So he should be Viyukta. Yatinam. He should be Yati. He should be Yatachetasam. The first question that should come to the mind and does come to the mind is, if Yati and Yatachetasam, why two words? Is it a Dvirukti? Dvirukti is a dosh in literature, in scriptures, And Bhagavad Gita is a divine, perfect scriptures. So there cannot be dvirukti. There has to be a meaning behind it. Yati and yata chetasam. Viyukta, vigata, yuktaha. The one who has dissolved the joining, combining, binding of kama krodha. That means kama krodha binds. Unbinding of kama krodha, one who has mastered. Kama krodha can be viyukta or can be unbound only and only when viveka and vairagya is developed. So in other words, utilizing the existing field of action, the karma. One who has mastered through the skillful yoga karma sukhaushalyam, through the skillful application of karma, utilizing vivek and vairagya, who has transcended the snares of kama and krodha, so that they no more bind with the mind or the antakarana. Such a person has crossed the secondary school, the first stage, which is nothing else but purification of the mind or the chitta shuddhi. Chitta shuddhi is done only through karma. Karma is a must. Nobody can avoid karma. When karma is already destined for you, by virtue of karma sankarat, samskarat, karma ashayat, jati ayu bhogaha, when that is already given to me, then while performing the karmas that I am destined to in the jati, in the species that I am born, the kind of bhogas that I am given, sukha or dukkha, and for the period that is I am given ayu, I shall strive, I shall endeavor to use the existing karmas to purify myself, so that the viveka and vairagya, which are the twins that are born to sattva guna, will help me in abhorring the binding with krodha and kama, and then I will become viyukta of kama krodha viyukta. Moment I do this, the sattva guna that has arisen in my heart, in my intellect, in my antakarana, shall not keep quiet. Gunas do not keep quiet, whether sattva, raj or tama. Rajatama has created havoc in my personal life, so I tried chitta shuddhi. Chitta shuddhi is simply defined as reduction of or annihilation of non-essential raj and tama. You would need sleep as long as you are alive, so tama is required, but beyond requirement, the tama is dangerous. So annihilation or reduction of rajatama to the required extent is called chitta shuddhi. Then when sattva guna is in preponderance, because when rajatama is krudi bhavanat, when they are shortened, the tall thing that stands in sattva guna, that sattva guna then, because of by virtue of chitta shuddhi, shall propel a sadhaka to undertake an activity which is called meditation. The one who strives to use the sattva guna for doing the meditation so that he can march onwards in the antarpravasa is called the effort maker. Effort maker is called yati. Yata. Yata is one who is constantly endeavoring. Though the word has come from the root dhatu, mula dhatu is yama. Yama is to restrain. And yatati, the one who is doing, the one who is yatati, the one who is making efforts to restrain is called yati. That is why the best of the person born in our knowledge, who is called as king of yatis, Sri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye. Vivekananda is called Yatiraj, the master of the effort maker, Yati. And that is why Yati is also called Sannyasi. The effort of Yama, effort of this Yati is itself nothing else but leaving everything. The Paravairagya that the monk develops, because of which he throws away everything. Some Niyasa is Sannyasa, is called Yati. Now, if Yati is different, then why Yata Chetasam? The question is, a Yati during his period and phase of effort when he achieves perfection step by step, and all the three shlokas are pointing conspicuously to Patanjali Yoga Sutra, as Yati rides on the higher and higher level of consciousness, going into the different levels of Sampradnyat Samadhi, which is superior to Devas also. Devas are inferior to the Samadhi yogi. So Sampradnyat Samadhi, as he moves towards from the Savitarka to Savichara to Nirvichara to Sananda to Sasmita Sampradnyat Samadhi, this is nothing else but Arohana on higher and higher level of consciousness. As he moves up on higher and higher, there is an achievement that it comes to him. To that extent, his Chetasa, his Antakarana is subdued. He is on his journey to annihilate the Antakarana. His ultimate aim is to destroy the Antakarana, or in Gurudeva's words, suicide of the mind. He is in that process. But every achievement in that process is called Yata Chetasa, conquered post. So Yati, the one who is making the efforts. Yata Chetasaha, one who has conquered in the effort. So Kama Krodha Viyukta Yati Yata Chetasa. What happens to him? Abhito. Now if we carefully see, the word meaning given by Gurudeva is Abhitaha, is on all sides. But that is not how the Shankaracharya describes it. Shankaracharya says, Ubhayatam Jivatam Mrutatma Cha. That means while alive as well as while dead is the meaning of word Abhito. While Gurudev says from all sides, Madhusudan Saraswati also says while alive and while dead. Does that mean Gurudev and Shankaracharya differ? No, sir. They can never differ because they come from the same lineage. And the last comments about Shankaracharya given by Gurudeva clearly indicates that he has already gone through Shankar Bhashya. Then how these two words meanings can be reconciled? On all sides, Abhilasha, Abhitabha, Abhimanyu. Abhi means all around, all sides. Then how is it Shankaracharya talking about when alive or dead? Because there are only two conditions that we are used to. Either we are alive or we are dead. We exist or we don't exist. We are there or we are not there. Yes or no. In either of these conditions means all sides. Abhito means when the person is Jivan Mukta and alive, or he is Videha Mukta after the death. In either case, he is Brahma Nirvanam Vartate Vidit Atmanam. Brahma Nirvanam. Nirvanam is blowing out. Nirvanam. So, Pasarga is Nir. That means to blow out. Blowing out is when there is no possibility of you existing again. If you take a flame and it is blown out, you may relight the thing, but that won't be the same flame. That flame is gone. It is blown out. Similarly, one who transcends the existence is blown out. And where does he go? Blown out where? Blown out in Brahma. Brahma Nirvanam is blowing out in the Brahman. And that is why absolute freedom exists on all sides. Gurudeva has given the word Brahma Nirvanam meaning as absolute freedom. This meaning is not there in Shankara Bhashya. Absolute freedom and Brahma Nirvanam or blowing out in Brahma means the same. Then why the word absolute freedom? Absolute freedom means there is no bandha or conditioning of any kind. Anything that is conditioned is subject to Maya. Mayopadhit is conditioned. Upadhi itself is the highest bonding or highest conditioning. That which transcends all kinds of bandha or conditioning is Brahman. So it is also absolute freedom. It is Satchit Ananda. In fact, it is something which is beyond the description of anything. After this is told, then the description goes further into a little bit of detail. And the detail comes as Sparshan Krutva Bahir Bahyamscha Chakshushchaiva Antare Bhruvoho. Now the question is Bahihi Bahyan. Two words are used. Bahihi Bahyan. Why these words are used? Madhusudan Saraswati Maharaj in the Gudartha Deepika has used good amount of explanation for this. One requires consciousness to enlighten the meaning of Bhagavad Gita, not the intellect. We all try to grapple it with the intelligence. People of Gurudeva's stature or Madhusudan Saraswati or Shankar Bhagavan's stature is that it is illuminated to them. Illumination and understanding are two different things, and that is why we must be doing always a sampradayika abhyasa, not to use one's own intellect, but to take the recourse to those whose consciousness enlightened them on the subject matter rather than intelligence providing the input for understanding. We try to understand Gita while Gurudeva was enlightened by Gita. That is the difference. That is why the commentary differs so much between us and him. Bahihi krutva is driving. Bahihi krutva, driving outside. What is to be driven outside? Bahyan, external things. External things are to be driven outside. Bahyan bahihi krutva sparshan, the contact with the externals. Sparshan, bahyan, bahi krutva. Why it is so? Why it's so much of word bahya, bahi? What is the business Bhagavad Gita is trying to do in this play of words? It is not the play of words, sir. It is the meaning of the hidden or the occult meaning of that statement is that which is external can be only extinguished externally. In other words, the world is not existing in your mind. It is existing in your mind because of your contact with the world. The world per se has nothing to do with you. What is your relationship with the world? That is why Gurudev says external world of objects, it has already been said, cannot by itself bring any disturbance to any one of us. It is only when we are in contact with the world of objects that it is this sparshan that matters. That is why that which is external then becomes internal because of contact has to be kept outside. So bahihi bahyan. Now comes the question, if the world of objects and everything has to be kept out of the mind, then what do? Shall we stop doing the job? Shall we stop eating? Shall we stop doing what we are doing? That is not the meaning. The meaning is utilize the existing world of your objects in a manner so that it ultimately results in going away from the objects. Be in the world so that you can be out of the world. It's a very paradoxical saying. Be in the water but don't get wet. Sounds paradoxical, but that is what needs to be done. By saying Ram, 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 everything becomes Ram. By burning everything around you, it doesn't become Ram. So external objects, sparshan has to be avoided in a manner so that external remains external and does not become internal, doesn't become vritti of the chitta or antakarana. And to do this, first thing is, once this is done, when the external world is closed, once it is sure that nothing is going to disturb the antakarana anymore, then Dhruvoho antare. Dhruvo antare means juncture. Junction is called antar. Dhruvoho, dhruhu. Dhru is bro. The word brahma in Sanskrit is used for forehead. Bro is eyebrows, juncture, madhya. Now, question is, why bhru madhya? What is bhru madhya? Bhruvo antare. Why this word is used? Gurudev first thing clarified that don't try to be a squinty-eyed person and get headache. That is not the meaning. Then why bhruvo antare? Madhusudan Saraswati Maharaj has given the elaborate and the right description. You either are milita chakshu, closed eyes, or you have open eyes. And there is something in between called ardhon milita, half closed eyes. Why these three are important? Milita chakshu leads to laya. Laya means sleep. Open eyes leads to 4 types of deviations: pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, and smriti. Think about it. Every time we open our eyes, we are either into 4 of these things. Pramana, we are trying to get some knowledge about something. Early in the morning, we want the newspaper. When you are awake, what are you trying to do? Trying to read the newspaper to get what? Who killed whom and how many people killed in Ukraine. Whether we really require that or not, that is a different thing. But why we do it? Knowledge. Pramana. Viparyaya. We do get sometimes knowledge, but it is wrong. Misappropriation or misapprehension. Then comes vikalpa. Vikalpa is also called fantasy, and that we keep doing. We're driving the vehicle and we're thinking about what if, for example, one lady crosses the street and the mind starts moving into different directions. The lady has nothing to do with you. She has crossed the road and she's gone. But she hasn't gone from the mind, because your thoughts are taking it to a different level. That is called fantasy. So you are either in that, or you're thinking about your memory. When I was small, I was so nice, it was so good, he killed me, he shouted at me, these, that, all bring back the memories. We are either into one of these 4: pramana, viparyaya, vikalpa, smriti. So when you're opening the eyes, this happens. When you close the eye, you become laya. That means you go into sleep. So ardhon milita, when you are there, that is the time, dhruvo antare, you are able to focus on. And how does it become dhruvo antare? It becomes because generally the yogis, when they are into the state which is neither of these 5, pramana, viparya, vikalpa, smriti, laya, when it is nothing of these 5, then the yogi is in a stage where his eyes automatically assume ardhon milita. That is why if you see the Shankara's photo or picture anywhere, you'll always see he has got ardhon milita netra. Most of our gods have ardhon milita netra. And why gods? If you see very closely the video cassettes or the CDs of Gurudeva, Gurudev, while speaking many a times, you will see he is in ardhon milita avastha. His eyes are little drawn upwards, half closed eyes, and he's as if he's seeing something, he's talking. This is called a habit when it comes to concentration. Ekagra avastha. And it's not that they do the eyes first and then they do concentration. It is a fallout of the concentration. That is why in Shambhavi Mudra also this happens. There are different types of mudras, Shambhavi being one of them. There is Shambhavi Mudra and Shambhavi Diksha. what Ramakrishna Paramahamsa did to Swami Vivekananda when he came to meet him for the first time and he put him into samadhi, that is called Shambhavi Diksha. That requires enormous amount of authority at the hand of Guru. But Shambhavi Mudra is the mudra which is like you have a Khetsari Mudra. These are different mudras in yoga. It is used in Tantric yoga, which is called Vajrayana in Buddhism. So in Shambhavi Mudra, you do have this mudra which is Ardhon Milit with Bhru Madhya. But it doesn't create headache at all because internally they are already into a different level of consciousness. The organs are like dead things. They are assuming certain shapes. And that is why the one who has externally avoided all external contacts, that means Vyuthana is already over. Now he starts marching inwards. To march inwards, he has started doing dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. So dharana is the time when you start getting the bhrumadhra, bhrumo antare. So bhrumo antare he does. Then what happens? Simultaneously, the respiration comes into the picture. Now, many times we get doubt in our mind that, so many Hanumana and so many bhaktas are there. Bhaktas never do this so-called pranapana, etc. We are mistaken, sir. The Raja Yogi does this yoga or Patanjali's Ashtanga yoga by design. While Jnani and Bhakt, they get it by default. Tukaram Maharaj, when he was doing the Vithala, simultaneously these things were happening to him, but they came by default. Because the Ekagrata was happening on Vithala so much, it was same as Ekagrata that the Patanjali Yoga Sutra was talking about. And that is why he also got the same experience that the yogi gets. And the yogi also later on becomes Bhakta. So it is not that these are compartmentalized things. You may be taking arts as a side, science as a side, or commerce as a side, but what you get is knowledge. So the experiences may differ in terms of concentration, etc. Destination is same. And whatever comes as a signpost during the progress is also same. That is why such a yogi, prana apana samau krutva. This is pranapano samau krutva. Now the pranapana, prana is the vayu that we inhale, which is called puraka. The prana vayu that comes through nasikagra, and that is why the word uses nasabhyantar charino. The important part is nasika, abhyantara charino. Abhyantar is not only inside. Abhyantar is indication towards kumbhaka. Puraka is taking the breath in. Rechaka is taking the breath out. But stopping the breath at the end of Puraka and at the end of Rechaka is called Antar Kumbhaka and Bahya Kumbhaka. Now, when the breath comes in, the pranas are coming in. When breath goes out, the Apana Vayu comes into the picture. Now, Apana Vayu has Utsarjana as its function. Then what it does, it tries to propel outside. Anything, a Vayu that propels outside is Apana. A Vayu that does influx is called Prana. Now, Prana Apana is usually happening at the Kantastha level or at the upper level. A yogi, when he sits for meditation, the breathing gets regulated so much that the prana starts moving downwards towards Nabhisthanam. Apana starts moving upwards towards Nabhisthanam. And they meet together at Nabhisthanam. That is how what happens is Udghata happens. Udghata means the power of the prana and the power of the apana through the puraka and rechaka creates an energy or a force that shakes the muladhara chakram, because of which the kundalini jagruti starts. These are the fallouts of those who are doing dharana, dhyana, samadhi. Such a person is the stage that is described of such a person is the stage that Yogeshwara is talking about, which earlier Shankaracharya mentioned as Jnana Prapti. Now the march is towards Sarva Karma Sannyasa and Mokshaya. For that, Yatendriya, Mana, Buddhi. Yat Indriya, Yat Mana, Yat Buddhi. There are three bastions to be conquered in the meditation. Now we say Indriyas are already conquered because he was keeping Bahya Bhayhan, external objects. Why again Indriya? It is not that, sir. Yat Indriya here is different than the Shamadama Indriya. Shamadama is the application of the Indriya with the objects. That is what you are trying to stop. Here, Yata Indriya means Indriya itself is taken as an object of meditation. These are very subtle things in Bhagavad Gita because Yoga Shastra is also a part. Sankhya Yoga together is Bhagavad Gita. The Indriyas and their effects controlling the functioning of Indriyas is Shamadama or the external thing Bahya Bhayyan. Fine, no problem. Now what is Yata Indriya is taking Indriya as the object of meditation. And what are Indriyas? Indriyas are having Sattva Guna. So that is why the focusing becomes more, the concentration becomes more on Indriya. So Indriya, Mana, Buddhi, stage by stage are made the objects of meditation. And when Buddhi, as the last bastion, Buddhi is a Shuddha Sattva. Buddhi is Shuddha Sattva. Indriya, Mana are Mishra Sattva. First, on the Mishra Sattva, there is concentration or the Ekagrata done. Then you do it on Buddhi. When Buddhi, because Buddhi is the second evolute after Prakriti. Mahat or Prakriti is the first Tattva. After Prakriti comes Buddhi. That is why now the yogi has reached at the penultimate stage, almost semi-final of his frontier. So one who is Yat Indriya, Yat Mana, Yat Buddhi. Now what is his effort going on? He has already conquered Buddhi. Buddhi means what? Buddhi is nothing else but the limitation of consciousness in a given body. Consciousness is unlimited. The same consciousness is reflected by an apparatus in a restricted manner, which is called Buddhi. Consciousness is sun and sunlight. Buddhi is the mirror reflecting the sunlight. Now that he has transcended the Buddhi, Yata Mana Indriya Buddhi. Now the yogi has transcended the Buddhi. Now where will he go? If you have already know that you have already conquered the mirror, now the next destination is a sun itself. And that sun itself is called Moksha Parayana, one who is endeavoring to reach the moksha. So, Yat Indriya Mana Buddhi Munihi. First of all, moment you cross the bastion of Buddhi, you become Muni. Now that because Muni, now Muni has only one destination. The Muni tries to do the final frontier, which is Moksha Parayanata, that is Moksha, for which he becomes Yata. That is why it is called, he is called Moksha Parayana. And such a Moksha Parayana person then is beyond the Prakriti. Once he is gone beyond the Maya, then whatever is included in the Maya, including the Maya, is gone. When Maya, when mirage itself is gone, where is the question of water being felt there? Till the time you watch the mirage, you see a water there which is not existing. But now you know clearly that it is mirage. There's no question of you feeling water. That is why being Moksha Parayana, you will have Vigata Ichcha Bhaya Krodha, because Ichcha Bhaya Krodha are within the Maya. Then what happened? Because he went beyond the Maya, one who is in the Maya is called Baddha. He has gone beyond the Maya, so he is called Mukta. Yaha Sada Mukta Eva Saha. Sada Mukta. Not only Mukta, Sada Mukta. Perennially. Forever. Yasmin gatva na nivartante. 15th adhyaya. What is Vishnu Padam? That once reached, no need to come back. Yasmin gatva na nivartante. That is where this particular yogi reaches. Why so much of elaboration for these three shlokas? Because Gurudev has already hinted to us that better be careful and read more. Why? He says here as a summary, with lots of dots and dashes, Krishna is giving the scheme of practice. The dots and dashes, who will tell you? Every time we cannot be begging with open mouth towards Gurudeva saying that please keep putting everything in my mouth. What about me at least moving my mouth and masticating? There is a responsibility on us. Actually, we are very thick-skinned people. Gurudev keeps giving, we keep taking. We don't bother to do anything on our own, not even study. Our Ishwarji keeps telling us before breakfast, half an hour, what is happening? You're supposed to give 24 hours to it and we are talking about half an hour. That too, you need to be pursued about it. Everything needs to be pursued. Nothing goes. Rasamand andar bajata, bahar sune to kya hua, sunta nahi dil ki khabar, anhat ka baja bajata. So the drums also make no difference to the ears. Every Saturday morning, 2 shlokas, 1 hour, feeling elated. After that, everything is gone. The dots and dashes needs to be studied. That is why Bhagavad Gita is an intellectual challenge. Because this is Paroksha Jnana. Paroksha Jnana, if it is correctly that comes to you, then the Aparoksha Jnana perhaps is possible. That depends on our prarabdha karma, etc., etc. There are so many factors into it. But Paroksha Jnana, at least every day I am opening a medical book, but not learning anything. You can never become a doctor. Becoming doctor and then performing surgery is a far distant thing. But basics of anatomy, physiology, Paroksha Jnana. Somebody who has dissected the body is telling us that the organ is here, this is here. At least we must know that. That is what Gurudeva is saying. So whenever he gives an instruction of dots and dashes, that means he expects us to study more about it. That is why this 3 shlok Bhagavad Gita is not only a very plain statement as we see, it is an esoteric science. Otherwise, Bhagavan would not have used the word Guhyatama, Raja Guhya Yogaha, Gudhaha. There is depth in it. And that is why with Gurudeva's torch lights again and again, we will use it. But he is showing the torch also, he is making us walk also, he is making, what are we doing? And that is why these 3 shlokas, they tell us the complete scheme or the summary of what a sadhak does and in what manner he goes. Why the word is said by Patanjali Maharaj that dukkham evam sarva vivekinaha. For the viveki, everything in this world is dukkham. Why? To understand this 3 shlokas, our shloka needs to be studied with depth. And then, of course, the blessings will come from Gurudeva himself so that we understand in a better manner. Hari Om.